Thank you, Nina Enrique. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles for NET25 World News. On tonight's headlines. The Philippines is standing firm against the illegal actions of Chinese maritime forces in its waters.
It is, in short, an intimidation tactic used by the PRC to break the spirits of our fisherfolk and discourage them from fishing in the West Philippine Sea.
A race against time in Los Angeles County's firefighters are pushing hard to contain massive wildfires before powerful winds return, threatening to undo their progress.
National Weather Service is predicting close to hurricane force level winds, and so we're making urgent preparations.
And the news starts now. The Philippines is standing firm against the illegal actions of Chinese maritime forces in its waters. The Philippines accused China of intimidating its fishermen at the disputed South China Sea shoal and normalizing an illegal presence after Beijing sent its largest Coast Guard vessel into Manila's maritime zone.
First and foremost, let me just clarify that we are not quote-unquote tolerating their presence. No? In fact, we're challenging them every single day. Right now, we have two Philippine Coast Guard vessels shadowing them, closely monitoring them. We have sent assets also from the Armed Forces and from the Philippine Coast Guard aerial assets to continue monitoring them. And our maritime domain awareness has been focused specifically on the illegal presence of the Chinese Coast Guard vessel. Now, as to what future steps we are to undertake, no? The National Maritime Council already called for the withdrawal of this monster ship from Philippine waters. No?
The move comes against the backdrop of rising tensions between the Philippines, a U.S. treaty ally, and Beijing during the past 2 years, stemming from their overlapping claims in the busy waterway of the South China Sea. The Philippines has protested this month against the entry of Chinese vessels in its 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone, including the 165-meter-long ship, the 5901, last spotted 77 nautical miles off the western province of Zambales. Jonathan Malaya, spokesperson for the Philippine National Security Council, reiterated the call for Beijing to withdraw from Manila's waters. The monster ship, he said, was deployed to intimidate its fishermen around Scarborough Shoal.
The NMC issued a statement yesterday asking the Chinese government to withdraw this monster ship because it is clearly an it's an illegal presence in our waters. No? But insofar as the objective of this presence, which is to intimidate our fishermen and intimidate us, no? We can clearly state that the intimidation tactics are not successful and that we remain resolved, no? To support our Filipino fishermen, and we will not stop challenging their presence within Philippine waters.
In the same briefing, PCG spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, Commodore J. Tariela, said the Philippines remains unfazed with the repeated Chinese incursions.
Supported by the National Task Force West Philippine Sea is on a day-to-day challenging the presence of the China Coast Guard, because we believe that the intention of the Chinese government is to normalize the presence of the China Coast Guard in this area because of the port dash line that they have. And the Philippine Coast Guard, what we're doing there is hour by hour and day-to-day challenging the illegal presence of the Chinese Coast Guard 5901 for the international community to know that we're not going to allow China to normalize the illegal deployment of the China Coast Guard, because that's what they have been doing. They're going to normalize, change the status quo, and then operationalize and claim that they have been doing this for the past months or years. So for the Coast Guard, we are documenting this illegal presence of China Coast Guard and telling the world that the Philippine government is against this unlawful presence of the Chinese Coast Guard 5901.
President Biden's time in office wraps up in just a week, closing out much like it began, with a handoff involving Donald Trump. Now, back in 2021, Trump left the White House with no plans of returning, while Biden took the oath, promising to lead the country towards a better future. 4 years later, Biden stepping down, with many seeing his exit as a step back, while Trump prepares for a powerful comeback. Biden's departure could also signal the end of a U.S. foreign policy approach struggling to keep up with today's shifting world. He often called his moment a turning point in history, a choice between democracy and autocracy, frequently pointing to China as America's top rival, challenging the U.S.-led global order. Despite his hopes to guide the country into a new era, Biden faced global crises that kept pulling focus: Russia's war in Ukraine and the renewed violence in the Middle East between Israel and Hamas. Today, speaking at the State Department, he thanked U.S. diplomats and reflected on the complicated world he is leaving behind.
Today, I can report to the American people we're in a better strategic position in the long-term competition with China than we were when I took office. You all recall, many experts believe were predicting it was inevitable that China's economy would surpass ours. According to many predictions, that would happen by the year 2030 or shortly thereafter. But we in this room said no.
He was unable to make the case for the work that he did. He didn't tell the story of the economy. He didn't tell the story of the Western alliance. And just imagine, with the very same circumstances, a Ronald Reagan or a Bill Clinton in office at the height of their powers. They would have told that story. Would they have convinced everyone? No. But they certainly would have convinced a few more 100,000 voters, which is all you would have needed to make a difference in this election.
Before I took office, 9 NATO allies were spending 2% of their GDP on defense. Now 23 are spending 2%. And look at the Indo-Pacific. We made partnerships stronger and created new partnerships to challenge China's aggressive behavior and to rebalance power in the region. We did it, what few thought was possible, to build the first ever trilateral partnership between the United States, Japan, and South Korea. We helped Ukrainians stop Putin. And now, nearly three years later, Putin has failed to achieve any of his strategic objectives. He has failed thus far to subjugate Ukraine, failed to break the unity of NATO, and failed to make large territorial gains.
So Joe Biden, in, I think, common terms today, would be considered a dinosaur for many. And I'm thinking particularly of Gen Xers, Gen Zs, and millennials who see what's happening in Ukraine and NATO's support of Ukraine, although it is not a NATO country, as a relic of the Cold War that they don't know, they don't understand, and they don't want the United States to be in a proxy war with Russia.
And now, look at Iran. Did you ever think we'd be where we are with Iran at this moment? After those despicable attacks by Hamas on October the 7th, Iran directly attacked Israel twice with hundreds of ballistic missiles and drones. And twice they failed because the United States organized a coalition of countries to stop them. Now, Iran's air defenses are in shambles. Their main proxy, Hezbollah, is badly wounded. When I took office, I had a choice. Ultimately, I saw no reason to keep thousands of servicemen in Afghanistan. I think I have my schedule with me, and I keep on my, I don't have, but I keep on the back of my card the actual number of dead and wounded that occurred in our longest war, to remind myself. Keep spending hundreds of millions of dollars a day. We're no longer doing that. In my view, it was time to end the war and bring our troops home, and we did.
Biden will have a mixed legacy. I think it's too difficult to just tout some of the major reforms that he was able to push through policy-wise, such as the American Rescue Plan or the Inflation Reduction Act. I think a lot of what he'll be remembered for now is his pulling out of the 2024 election rather late in the game that many people believe did not set up his predecessor to win.
South Korea's Constitutional Court adjourned the opening session of the impeachment trial of suspended President Yoon Suk-yeol within minutes today after the embattled leader did not attend court. A lawyer advising Yoon has said the president, who has been holed up in his hillside villa in Seoul for weeks, would not attend, saying a bid by authorities to detain him prevented Yoon from expressing his position at the trial.
권한을 묻기 전에 그 영장이 적법하고 유효한지에 대해서 다시 한번 생각해 보시기 바라겠습니다. 단지 헌법재판이라는 이유로 형사소송 규정을 준용하지 않는 것은 법을 정면으로 위배하는 것입니다. 법을 지키고 법을 집행해야 될 헌법재판소가 월권을 하고 있는 겁니다.
헌법의 적, 민주주의 적으로부터 헌법을 보호하고 대한민국을 지켜야 합니다. 지금 대한민국의 가장 시급한 과제는 윤석열의 체포와 파면입니다. 헌법의 적, 민주주의 적으로부터 헌법을 보호하고 대한민국을 지켜야 합니다. 지금 대한민국의 가장 시급한 과제는 윤석열의 체포와 파면입니다.
Now, the next trial session is scheduled for Thursday, January 16, and if Yoon also does not attend, the trial proceedings will go ahead with his legal team. Representing him, Acting Chief Justice Moon Young-bae said. Outside the court, one of Yoon's lawyers, Yoon Kab-kun, said the president would decide whether to go to the court in person on Thursday after discussions on his defense strategy. A race against time in Los Angeles County's firefighters are pushing hard to contain massive wildfires before powerful winds return, threatening to undo their progress. With gusts nearing hurricane strength expected, officials are warning the fire threat remains critical. At least 24 lives have been lost, entire neighborhoods leveled, and thousands forced to flee. And now nearly 10 million residents are being urged to stay ready to evacuate as the dangerous winds close in.
Firefighters raced to make as much progress as they could in containing the massive wildfires burning in Los Angeles County before the return of high winds, which LA Mayor Karen Bass said were forecast to be severe.
The National Weather Service is predicting close to hurricane force level winds, and so we're making urgent preparations.
The Palisades Fire and the Eaton Fire have claimed the lives of at least 24 people, leveled whole neighborhoods, and burned an area the size of Washington, D.C. Winds of up to 70 miles per hour were forecast for Monday through Wednesday. LA County Fire Chief Anthony Maroney.
The anticipated winds, combined with low humidities and low fuel moistures, will keep the fire threat in all of Los Angeles County critical.
The winds threatened the hard-won progress crews have made so far. Over the weekend, firefighters beat back the Palisades Fire from advancing toward the populous San Fernando Valley in the north. But officials warned the entire Los Angeles County population of nearly 10 million people to be ready to evacuate. That's in addition to the tens of thousands who have already left, with many now in shelters and flooding donation centers. Others lined up in their cars, hoping to briefly return home to grab some precious belongings.
Like as a miracle, these firemen, the air support was so swift and quick. Within 5 minutes, we've seen chopper after chopper after chopper coming in, dumping the water on. Like virtually, like it was like incredible to watch. The double propellers, the Chinooks and the other. It was 7-8 of those came in within 20 minutes, and this was all pretty much, put off. There was no single flame left. And I can say only if these guys didn't do what they did today, this would not be the house here.
On Monday, Los Angeles County Sheriff Robert Luna asked residents for their patience, especially in the Altadena area ravaged by the Eaton fire.
For the Altadena area, we are in the third day of grid searching. It is a very grim task. Please be patient with us. People are saying, I just want to go look at my house and I want to see what's left. We know that, but we have people literally looking for the remains of your neighbors.
We have no access in and out, so I have to protect my house, from looters and just help out our neighbors. We're doing, throughout the night, we're all waking up, making sure no one's that's not supposed to be here is walking around. The cops are doing the best they can, but at the end, we have to protect our own. That's all we could do and help each other out. So we're all looking out for each other.
As Los Angeles braces for extreme winds overnight, firefighters are racing against the clock to contain two massive wildfires that have already claimed dozens of lives. With hurricane-force winds expected to hit early Tuesday, crews are also working tirelessly to prevent further destruction while evacuation orders affect tens of thousands of residents.
Los Angeles firefighters on Monday braced for extreme winds overnight. Hurricane-force winds of up to 75 miles per hour were expected to hit around 4 a.m. on Tuesday, with gusts between 50 and 70 miles per hour forecast to persist through Wednesday. The two main wildfires around the city, the Palisades and Eaton fires, have killed at least 24 people and burned an area the size of Washington, D.C. since they erupted last week. On Monday, thousands of firefighters attacked the blazes from the air and on the ground ahead of the anticipated winds. The same day, Los Angeles City Fire Chief Kristen Crowley reported some progress in containing the Palisades fire.
The fire is 23,713 acres with 14% containment, 5,123 personnel that are assigned.
CAL FIRE, meanwhile, said that the Eaton fire, which firefighters can be seen battling here, was 33% contained. As of Monday, more than 92,000 people in Los Angeles County were under evacuation orders, while another 89,000 faced evacuation warnings. California Governor Gavin Newsom has said the firestorm could rank as the most devastating natural disaster in U.S. history in terms of cost. President Joe Biden has said he told local officials to, quote, spare no expense in fighting the fires, and on Monday gave more details on how Washington plans to help victims.
People impacted by these fires are going to receive one-time payment of $770, one-time payment, so they can quickly purchase things like water, baby formula, and prescriptions. So far, nearly 6,000 survivors have registered to do just that, and $5.1 million has gone out. And I encourage everyone who has been impacted to get assistance.
Separately, the LA County District Attorney's Office said 9 people had been arrested for burglarizing fire-stricken areas. They said one other person was arrested for arson, for allegedly attempting to light a tree on fire in the city of Azusa, to the northeast of the city. Finally, the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power was sued on Monday. The suit claims that the department failed to properly manage water supplies critical to fighting the deadly Palisades fire. Newsom and other top Democrats in the state have been the target of escalating criticism from the right for their handling of the crisis. Top Republicans in Congress are considering imposing conditions on disaster aid, accusing the state's Democratic leadership of mismanaging water resources and forests.
A powerful 6.6 magnitude earthquake struck southwestern Japan late Monday, causing minor tsunamis but no immediate reports of injuries or major damage. The quake hit the Yuga Nada Sea off Miyazaki Prefecture, shaking parts of Miyazaki, Shintomi, and Takanabe with enough force to send people holding on to table objects for support. Small tsunami waves were recorded around 20 centimeters in Miyazaki and 10 centimeters in Kochi though all tsunami advisories have now been lifted. Train services on parts of Kyushu Shinkansen were briefly suspended, but nuclear plants in the region reported no issues. There were no There were no abnormalities reported at the Ikata nuclear power plant in western Japan or the Sendai nuclear power plant in Kagoshima Prefecture, according to NHK, referring to the two plants nearest to where the quake occurred. Japan's meteorological agency investigated the quake's potential link to a feared mega-quake along the Nankai Trough, but concluded it hasn't significantly raised the risk. The Nankai Trough, last ruptured in the 1940s, has a 70 to 80% chance of triggering a magnitude 8 to 9 earthquake within the next 30 years. Negotiators will meet in Doha seeking to finalize details of a plan to end the war in Gaza. After U.S. President Joe Biden said a ceasefire and hostage release deal he has championed was on the brink of coming to fruition.
The war between Israel and Hamas are on the brink of a proposal that I laid out in detail months ago, finally coming to fruition. I have learned many years of public service to never ever give up. So I spoke to Prime Minister of Israel yesterday. I spoke to Emir Qatar today. I look forward to speaking with President Sisi soon. We're pressing hard to close this. The deal we restructured would free the hostages, halt the fighting, provide security to Israel, and allow us to significantly surge humanitarian assistance to the Palestinians who suffered terribly in this war that Hamas started. They've been through hell. So many innocent people have been killed. So many communities have been destroyed. Palestinian people deserve peace and the right to determine their own future. Israel deserves peace and real security. And the hostages and their families deserve to be reunited. And so we're working urgently to close this deal.
Now, mediators gave Israel and Hamas a final draft of an agreement on Monday. An official briefed on the negotiations said after a midnight breakthrough in talks attended by envoys of both the outgoing U.S. President and President-elect Donald Trump.
We especially appreciate the roles of both the Biden administration and the incoming Trump administration in the talks in the past couple of weeks. They have been involved fully in the talks. As I said, from the Biden administration and the incoming administration, they were working in tandem together here in Doha and beyond in the region to make sure that the deal happens.
And we are now at a pivotal point in the negotiations for a hostage deal and ceasefire in Gaza. The President spoke with Prime Minister Netanyahu yesterday and just got off the phone with the Emir of Qatar. He'll be speaking soon also with President Sisi of Egypt. We are close to a deal, and it can get done this week. I'm not making a promise or a prediction, but it is there for the taking, and we are going to work to make it happen.
If successful, the ceasefire deal would cap over a year of start and stop talks and lead to the biggest release of Israeli hostages since the early days of the conflict, when Hamas freed about half of its prisoners in exchange for 240 Palestinian detainees held by Israel. An Israeli official said negotiations were in advanced stages for the release of up to 33 hostages as part of the deal.
We also discussed a possible hostage deal. I told the minister that progress was made. We see some progress in the negotiations. Israel wants a hostage deal. Israel is working with our American friends in order to achieve a hostage deal. And soon we will know whether the other side wants the same thing.
98 hostages remain in Gaza, according to Israeli authorities. An Israeli official outlined the proposed ceasefire deal's first stage, which would see the release of 33 hostages, including children, women, some female soldiers, men over 50, and the wounded or sick. On day 16, talks would begin on releasing the remaining hostages, including male soldiers and men of military age, along with the return of deceased hostages. The deal includes a phased Israeli troop withdrawal, with forces staying near the border to defend towns. Security measures would be enforced along Gaza's southern Philadelphia border, or Philadelphia corridor, with partial Israeli withdrawal after the initial days. Unarmed North Gaza residents could return under a mechanism to prevent weapons movement, while Israeli troops would leave the NET25 corridor in central Gaza. Palestinian militants convicted of deadly attacks would also be released, excluding those involved in the October 7, 2023 assault, with numbers based on the hostages' status. Meanwhile, Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, a hardline nationalist who has opposed previous attempts to reach a deal, denounced the latest proposals as a surrender and a catastrophe. Angry family members of Israeli hostages confronted him at a Knesset session, accusing him of abandoning their loved ones.
זאת בגידה בחטופים. יש אלטרנטיבה, ואני אחזור לזה שוב פעם. יש אלטרנטיבה.
תודה, אני מודה לכם. תודה רבה.
לפעמים סיבת הנובה הופקרה על ידי מדינת ישראל. הופקרה, השר סמוטריץ'. כן, הילדה שלנו הופקרה ואתם תשלמו את המחיר. אלה חללים. איפה הבושה שלך? אתם רצחתם לנו את הילדה ואתה יושב ומחשב לי מחירים?
And the news continues here on NET25. We'll be right back. And now let's head over to Las Vegas, Nevada, and find out what were the biggest hits in this year's Consumer Electronics Show. NET25 correspondent Anna Cui shows us what caught our team's attention, from the latest in smartphone products, health tech gadgets, and electric cars, plus this year's up-and-coming smart glasses. Anna.
The biggest consumer tech show, CES 2025, is going strong here in Las Vegas, where we can see a wealth of new and cool gadgets, some big, some small, some are yet to come, but we'll also share with you some of the new things you can actually get your hands on this year. One thing attendees really enjoy here at CES is being able to try and handle these cool gadgets, like AR glasses that can connect to your devices, to play games or watch movies, to glasses that can shoot photos and videos, and to bone conduction headphones that allow you to enjoy music while still being in tune to your surroundings. Robotics are always a success here at CES, like these adorable companion robots, or one that can challenge your game set of skills. I personally like the ones that can clean your windows and floors. Take a look at this prototype with an added mechanical arm for picking things up that might get in its way. And here's another robot vacuum that will soon be on the market. It has robotic legs and more.
So it's our latest technology, which has a ProLeap system, unlike any other that's out there in the market. The robot allows itself to climb over items that are about 2 inches tall. It can mop your entire home as well. So these two brushes together will allow all hair, so long hair like mine and yours, to go through and not get caught in the actual brushes. You'll see how it slowly is going through the process to then get rid of it and put it in the bin.
Gadgets to keep your house clean is one thing, but here's something to keep it safe and help protect your loved ones. Ring has partnered with Kitty to detect smoke and carbon dioxide 24/7 with real-time mobile notification. And speaking of gadgets controlled with an app, check out LV Rise for all new moms out there. It's a combo bouncer and bassinet that can be controlled using your phone. According to David Connell, who helped design the product, more importantly, it can help alleviate stress for new parents.
We know pumping and the ability to feed your baby is a huge stressor, but also so is sleep and sleep safety. Now we know from our research that both burnout is fundamentally huge. We know around 40 to 50% of babies are left asleep in products that just aren't meant to be slept in. So what we want to do is produce a bouncer product that could do a brilliant manual bounce, that can then transform seamlessly into a bassinet without moving the baby.
And finally, it's not CES without new cars. Hyundai Mobis featured its holographic windshield display technology through its built-in projectors under the dashboard. And here at CES, attendees got a glimpse of this prototype technology through Hyundai Mobis Kia EV9 with a transparent display, offering a new kind of a driving experience. Honda also unveiled its 2 latest EV concepts here at CES, debuting the first 2 out of their line of pure EVs, the Honda O SUV and Honda O Saloon prototypes. Though they are still prototypes, they are slated to launch in North America in 2026. Honda is touting these vehicles will have level 3 or eyes-off self-driving capabilities. Well, this wraps up CES 2025 for us here in Las Vegas. One big takeaway is that all of these innovations are backed by artificial intelligence, making your home, your life, and your ride even smarter. In Las Vegas, Anna Cui for NET25 World News.
And with that, we end tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on NET25, I'm Alma Angeles. Thank you for joining us. Good night.